Hello, and welcome to Lawless Conversations with Katie. I'm Katie, your host. This podcast goes through various difficult subjects such as abortion, gun control, prison systems, or gender, to name a few, and dives into all different aspects of the arguments that might be offered or discussed. At the moment, we are wading our way through the subject of abortion, and today we are looking at adoption. Although I have spent a lot of time and effort into researching these topics, I am by no means an expert on this subject or any other subject I will explore in the future. So take my thoughts with a grain of salt, and of course, if you have any questions or things to add, please share them. I try my best to keep my own biases out of these explorations, and because I'm talking about many aspects of a subject, including opposing ideas and arguments, know that these are not necessarily ideas that I subscribe to or hold personally. I will, however, explore different arguments as if I do believe in them in order to truly explore all facets of this subject. Finally, because these are difficult subjects, there will be some content that is hard to hear and might be triggering. Please understand I am not looking to insult anyone, but to explore these subjects openly and honestly. I don't want to convince anyone to think like me. I want to convince people to think, period. So without further ado, come have a lawless conversation with me. Adoption is another choice that is available. There are some who use abortion as birth control due to lack of education or other reasons that might be environmental or cultural. Sometimes you really can't tell why someone chooses not to take birth control. Thus, if abortion is no longer an option, this could lead to oversaturation of the adoption or foster care systems. I do feel the need to clarify here that using abortion as one's birth control is awful. Abortion is a last resort, not the go-to option. And I think most people know this, though in the argument it is often not seen this logically. However, without better education for both men and women, some people might produce many children, which they would either have to keep or give up for adoption, and in general, taking abortion away would automatically create more children who will go into the adoption and foster care system. One solution to this is to have those who vote against women having the choice of abortion be enrolled in adoption or foster care programs to help pick up the overflow of children that will be given over to it when abortion is banned. The argument against this concept mirrors many of the same arguments that a pregnant woman would pose, such as, I can't afford to foster or adopt a child, or I don't want to adopt or foster children because I don't want children. With this possible solution, people would point out that they don't want to pick up the slack of other people's choices who got pregnant or who were irresponsible and didn't protect themselves well enough. But by taking the choice away from women, that also takes away the personal responsibility that women could have been held to had they been able to make that choice for themselves. In order for one to take responsibility for an action or choice, they have to have made that action or choice and have the full ranges of options of choice available. When the choice of abortion is removed by law, that is essentially saying that women, as a whole, are not capable of making said decision. Thus, women cannot be held to taking personal responsibility for the consequences of pregnancy because the full range of choice is not available to her. What I mean by this is that when the choice is made by, say, the government, then the responsibility for the consequences of that choice now fall onto the government because they are the ones who made the choice to ban abortion or to make it legal. Thus, enrolling pro-life people into the adoption or foster care system would be an acceptable solution the government could implement. People often do not look ahead or manage to see the full picture, and this is one of those elements of the full picture that one has to be willing to see. If one wants abortion to be banned, then the consequences of that are children being born and not taken care of or put into the system. If you are pro-life, you have to also be willing to step up and deal with the consequences of the government now making decisions about reproduction. Also, in relevance to being pro-life, education is a very important part of this, and if you just ban abortion and don't work towards better education, then you're going to have a lot of problems. The world is going to have a lot of problems that will have to be taken care of, like this. The other solution would also be to ban adoption and force women to raise any children they conceive. This is not sustainable because of things like rape, incest, and marital rape. Enrolling people into the adoption or foster care system, if they vote to ban abortion, could inspire those who are now forced to adopt or foster children to create a more rigorous education for women and men about contraception and a more concerted effort to find effective contraceptives for men. This solution would make no one happy, but it would solve many of the issues. Adoption is often not the first presented when women go to get an abortion. It could be argued that if a woman has made it as far as a clinic to get an abortion, she has already weighed her options and made her choice. Offering other options could be rehashing the difficult process she already went through since finding out she was pregnant. Some states have rules that a woman cannot get an abortion until she has had an ultrasound. While this can lead to women keeping the baby, there are those who argue that forcing a woman to get an ultrasound will make a difficult decision even harder, especially if she had already made up her mind. Rather than forcing anyone into anything, making sure the places that provide abortion also provide fair and balanced information to anyone who wants it about all the options available can better inform women and people in general. Adoption allows the fetus to enter into life and have a chance to live. If one is not prepared for motherhood, rather than aborting it, they can carry the baby to term and give it up to a family who wants more children or cannot have children. There are some risks in adoption, such as a woman changing her mind, which makes the adoption process harder for the woman and the adopters. The possibility of this can make it a risky choice to adopt a baby and could lead to a child not getting the care they need because they are being raised in a suboptimal environment. However, the adoption could go well and the baby will be alive and well with adopted parents. One darker side of the adoption subject that one must consider is the effect adoption has on the child. When a child is given up for adoption, they are at some point going to be faced with the question of why they were given up. This for many children can lead to self-esteem issues, feelings of worthlessness, and feelings of being unwanted. One study found that adoptees are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than non-adoptees. Obviously, not all children struggle with these issues, and some who do are able to work through the issues that come from being adopted. However, on the subject of adoption, all aspects of it need to be considered, including this one. There is also the risk of people fostering too many children and not being able to provide for each of them appropriately, as well as abuse that can happen in an adopted house. When a woman is pregnant and decides it is best to give up her baby, these possible scenarios can cause yet more turmoil in an already tumultuous situation. This too is not a worthy alternative to abortion, but it is absolutely an option. This week's questions are quite personal, but I really hope that people chime in and are able to share their stories, because I think a lot of things in relation to adoption and the process of adoption are not talked about, and I would love for people to know and be able to know myself. So, the first question, if you have been adopted, do you think it would make you hesitant to have children or more careful when engaging in sexual activities? Also, just share your experience when it came to adoption. How did it go for you? Did you struggle with any self-worth issues? How did you work through those? For those who have adopted children, I'm curious, what is your story? What were the things you had to go through? What are the things that you struggled with? What are the beautiful things about the adoption process? What are the beautiful things about having adopted? Share your stories with me. If you are interested in commenting about this episode or answering any of the questions I just asked, you are welcome to. You can either send me an email at lawlessconversations@yahoo.com. That is LAWLESSCONVERSATIONS@yahoo.com. You can also comment on Twitter at Lawless Convos, LAWLESSCONVOS. Finally, you can also contact me on Facebook if you just look for Lawless Conversations, 2 different words, LAWLESSCONVERSATIONS. I look forward to hearing from you. The references to any sources that I use in each episode will be available in the bio, along with all of these social media connections. Join me next week as we talk to someone who has actually experienced being in the foster care system. Come hear his story. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I look forward to next week.